Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining the Better You podcast. Today, we are talking about Stress Awareness Month, which is kind of appropriate because we backed it into the tail end of the month. Um, Somewhat stressful, and also we have no script for today or no guidelines, just to kind of see how it goes. I know on my end when I'm kind of thinking about stress, it's never like one huge thing that stresses me out or this thing that I have to do right now. It's just this series, like what really gets to me is this series of tasks where it's just like, oh, I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and hopefully this works out because I have no idea what I'm going to do if that doesn't work out. And then it just like builds where it's like a ton of little things. If it's one big thing, I'm fine. And I don't know, but I think just from talking to other people that that is true of of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think things can certainly build up. And as a clinician, we sometimes don't always recognize it in those moments, right? But I think once it kind of snowballs and then it really starts to affect our day to day, like when we wake up and we're automatically stressed out checking emails, we're carrying things into our night, or in our after, work or school activities, being very stressed out and overwhelmed, it can certainly affect us. It can affect our relationships. It can affect, not just with others, but with ourselves. So it's important that we're aware of it. And I wish there was more awareness, not just in one month, to bring attention to it.
Feel like one of the things I don't know how true it is, but genetics wise, like I feel like for me, like stressing over time, I have realized my hair starting to turn white. I don't know if that's Ali, if you know anything about it. And it's got to a point where like I'm seeing this like little bit of like a white beard hair as well, which is at this young in age doesn't seem to be you know, big issue.
So that kind of brings me, I mean, it doesn't, but it made me think of this to the other end of stress. Like stress isn't always bad. We tend to think of it as always bad, but like stress is also a motivator. Like it's meant to be a motivator. Like our body has cortisol for a reason because it's trying to get us to do something. Um, and that's a good thing. Sometimes I don't want to say most of the time because I feel like a lot of times when I'm noticing it, I'm like, oh, I wish this really wasn't happening right now. But there is this kind of natural biological process to stress, like with Ravi getting gray hairs. If it helps Ravi, I don't see any of them. Uh,
They're to the sides.
oh, on the sides, like the Mr. Fantastic thing,
Mr.
like right
Fantastic,
here.
exactly. Yep. Yep.
I think that's gonna look good. Like you're gonna look distinguished. Distinguished is the word I'm looking for there.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, like for me, it's always kind of this catch-22 because if I'm not stressed out about anything, I'm gonna be lazy. Like that's just who I am as a person is it takes stress to motivate me. But then if I'm motivated too much or if I have too many things, it like overshoots the runway and I still miss because I'm feeling like overwhelmed. And it just kind of um but I don't I don't really have a follow-up. I had a follow-up and then it just left because I don't know, maybe I'm stressed out.
No, I mean, I was actually just having that conversation with a friend yesterday. So I have a really good friend who's a nurse, and she knows that I work in mental health. And it's funny because when we were both in college pursuing our, educations, we'd always study together. And she would say, well, when I have a lot of time on my hands, I don't want to do anything. Like I'm more lazy. I don't want to work out. I don't want to study. I don't want to do what I need to do. And I was like, I resonate very well with that. And just seems like when we're both slammed with work and slammed with a bunch of different assignments and deadlines, then that's when we get the most work done. Um, so it's just funny that, you brought that up after having that conversation not even 12 hours ago.
And the other part of it is like we can't sustain at that level, you know? Like it's always difficult when there's a ton of stuff going on. Um, Over the weekend, because we've had a lot of rain in my area, I had to mow our yard. And it's not a big deal, but our yard is kind of swampy because I need to put in a better drainage system in the back. And I was like, "Ooh, I'm kind of worried about this. I don't think I should mow the yard this weekend." But my wife was like, "It needs to get mowed because like we're the last people on the block to mow the yard." And I was like, "All right, that's fair." And then our mower got caught in the mud, and we we spent like 5 hours trying to get it out. It was just
Oh,
stuck. Um, and for whatever reason, this is a really small thing. It's just getting a mower out. Like worst case scenario, I can throw a tarp over it and pull it out when it's not wet. But for whatever reason, like I was just not doing well with stress because of that really small thing. And like I'm talking to my wife and I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry if I'm short with you. It's totally my fault, but like, hey, this is where I'm at right now, you know?" And but that's kind of the way that I see stress manifest. Like, fortunately for me, like I recognized, hey, this is me being grumpy because of this situation, and I didn't hopefully take it out on my wife too much. But like that's how it works: is you get to this point of boiling over, and then you're just done. Like you've just completely collapsed. Like as soon as we got the mower out, I was done for the day. I was like, nah, I'm done. Uh, there were other things I wanted to do, but I'm not doing it because I'm just overwhelmed now.
yeah.
And it's kind of weird how that works with stress, where you're like, okay, more stress, and you're more productive, more productive, more productive, and then you just fall off a cliff.
Right. It has its own way of kind of mentally checking you out and not having motivation even for things that you want to do, right? I know a lot of people say, when you're stressed out, just go to the gym. But if you're so mentally and emotionally exhausted, it can be hard to even find the motivation to do something physical, right? So I think that's what kind of leads to feeling burnt out. And again, outside of April, I feel like there could be different ways that we could really bring, stress awareness to us and think about, what helps us in those moments of stress, right? So when you're referencing what happened over the weekend, like, was it something where you took some time to step away from the situation and then, feel a little bit better? Like, what helped you specifically?
Oh, I just was done once I was done. Like I took the rest of the day and was like, all right, I'm not
Mhm.
doing anything. I'm just watching TV or playing video games or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, kind of helpful. It definitely helped to relax because it takes a lot of muscular energy to get a lawnmower out of the mud. But with that example, I did want to bring up something that I think gets overlooked by a lot of people when they talk about stress and kind of the falling off the cliff that I was talking about, is when you're at this point of heightened stress and you're about to fall off the cliff, well before that, your decision making ability starts to go down. And for instance, in this case, I was already kind of stressed, and then this like made me very stressed. But it's stuck in the mud, and I'm trying to back out of it, and it's caught and getting deeper. I must have spent like another minute trying to do that with the wheel, like pressing reverse and everything, and it's still getting deeper. And it's like that's not a good decision. Probably shouldn't have done that. I just made the whole process harder on myself. But that's kind of where we're at when we're stressed out, is we just want to go. We just want to get something done, whether it's done correctly or done in the best way. We just want to get it done. And that can have a huge impact on not just getting a lawnmower out of the mud, but on our relationships, on our jobs especially. I know if I turn in work on time, but it's bad, it doesn't matter that it was on time, you know? Um, and I think we as a society, we as people tend to overlook that all the time, you know, where we're just like, oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Maybe it's not fine.
Yeah, and I think everybody, like you said, has a different bandwidth threshold. I know there's some different key terms for it, but different ideas of what stresses them out. Like me, if I have an appointment or I have an assignment due, if I put it in on time, I'm late. Like I always like to be very proactive and be at the doctor's appointment a half hour early, and they're like, "Yeah, the doctor's not going to see you." And I'm like, "Oh, I know, but this is me being on time." Like, just how I manage it. Because you see posts or you see the movies where the person's like behind the wheel, nervous to get there, and they get there like 1 or 2 minutes late, and the door shuts on them. So I think we all have different methods of what helps us to relieve stress, but sometimes that can also induce stress too.
One of the I feel like sleep is such an important factor when it comes to stress. Um, where if you're overly just thinking about like what do you have to do, what do you have to get done, and then when it comes to the nighttime or like your resting time, it just seems like you cannot turn off your brain. Um, and then here you are just scrolling through or just thinking about work at like 3 a.m. You wake up in the middle of the night like, oh, did I send that email or did I not? And what needs to be done the next day as well. So for like like you have to sometimes like prioritize sleep. And one of the things that I forgot who I sent over the article where there's a 6:30 p.m. rule where anything after 6:30 your time is just to yourself. Like you go in a Zen mode. You don't think about anything else until the next day, and then repeat. So rinse and repeat.
That sounds lovely. I don't think I've ever intentionally followed the 6:30 rule, and I feel like if I would try, I would miss. Um, but no, I mean that's a good rule, and I think that we talk about wellness, and obviously Lamco Wellness, our sponsor, is a wellness company, a mental health company, and I think that one of the things that people like us do that others do um, that can be, I don't want to say harmful because it's not actively harmful, but we talk about a lot of this stuff like it's easy, and in a sense it is. Like if you want to do something, do it. um but I also think we have to acknowledge that all of this stuff, like taking care of yourself, the wellness, the everything like that, is difficult. It's constant work to do the work that sets up the positive habits and everything, and different people have different responses to different techniques, you know? Um, and I think that we're like it's when something is easy, like it's not hard for me to motivate myself to be productive. That's super easy. It's hard for me to motivate myself to eat healthy. That's really difficult. And I think each one of us has like different things where it's like, oh, I can put motivation in this area really easy. It's really hard for me to put it in this area. And in my experience, and either of you correct me if you don't experience that, but like for the areas where it's hard for you to get good habits to stick, it seems like you're just constantly having to go back to your tool belt to try something new, to just keep building it, to keep building it. And I think that that's why suggestions that we have, or like, oh, hey, here's an idea, or here's an idea, are helpful. There's a really roundabout way to say, like, hey, I understand that you might have this easier said than done thing, but here's the reason why it's helpful. Uh, because like for those, especially for those difficult things, it's really helpful to have a broad tool belt where you can try a whole bunch of different things to build those positive habits.
Definitely. And I agree with that, Aaron, because especially with me, I know a lot of viewers, have an idea of, the content I post and follow us, through the Lamb Co. and see, me discuss a lot of the physical attributes and mental health, how they correlate. But when it comes to dieting, even though I can go to the gym for 2, 3 hours and get my 10,000 steps a day, diet's a place where I will tell you I lack. Like I will eat a salad during the day, I'll eat grilled chicken, but then the Taco Bell or late night cravings do kick in, right? So I eat the calories in a different way, and then the next day I'm like, well, I'm starting over again from scratch, right? I think we all have those areas where, we can improve upon it, but it's about continuing. It's not about looking at what we would call like a failure or put a negative connotation on something, right? Like maybe Taco Bell that one night was something that I just really needed. I needed it to fulfill something. But now I'm moving forward. I'm back in the gym. I'm eating healthier again, eating or drinking my protein supplements, all of those sorts of things. But as long as we stay on the path and we acknowledge, hey, that wasn't the best thing for me, but I'm going to continue. I don't give up. So I think that is what pushes us sometimes through the stressful moments, because I think we can certainly go down the hole of, well, I failed. I didn't do what I was supposed to do, and now, I'm behind on everything.
Like the habit of stress eating is also a big thing in people, or drinking like Pepsi or Diet Coke. They just need, they're like fiending for something, and if the snack at that point is not not a healthy choice, you're gonna go downhill and you're just gonna spiral into all the stress that comes with it, of like, okay, oh my god, I ate this so much, now I feel bad. uh, Aaron, have you have you had a stress eating moment?
I'll be honest, I don't really stress eat. I just eat poorly, mostly because of the neurodivergence and the medication I take for it. A lot of times I don't notice when I'm hungry, until like I have to eat because I'm like fading fast. And then when I'm in that stage, I'm just like, okay, what gets food in me the fastest? And then, it's always junk food. It's always like, you know, go to Wendy's or Cane's or wherever. Um, or, some brown and serve type thing. And that for me is usually why I end up in that. Like for eating, I need a gym buddy more than I need a gym buddy for the gym, if that makes any sense. Like if my wife is on a diet, I will lose weight so quickly because I'll just be like, "Oh, I'm just going to do what you're doing." And she'll constantly be like, "You don't have to do that. Like you can just diet yourself." I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't work."
Yeah, it's a helpful motivator. So to give everybody a background, which is kind of funny. So my gym is in a very large, like parking lot, and it has everything. It has Publix because I'm in Florida. It has all of the nice big stores, Burlington, Ross, but literally right in front of my gym is a Chipotle. And I can't tell you how excited I was when they launched their high protein menu, because they have like chicken in a cup, they have all these different things. So I was like, this is perfect. I can go work out and then have somewhat healthy food right in front of me, and then I go home and that's it. So it's like a one-stop shop for everything. So I think when we're really stressed out about things, right? Like meal prepping, workload, school load, whatever your life looks like, family planning, um, we can kind of take it to that next level and see what's around us. For example, with mine, right? Like convenience. Food's right in front of me that I don't have to prepare and go in the kitchen and dirty it up and make more work for myself. It's at the convenience in my disposal to make my life easier. So an hour or two a day helps to alleviate multiple other hours of potential stress. So preparing, looking ahead, um, we can do those things in our day. It's just about being conscious of it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a there's a lot to be said for kind of prepping for stress as it were, as like building solutions in your routine to handle stress. I talk about all the time. I do yoga in the morning, at night, every day, and that's a huge helper for me. Um, I also think, and this is just for me personally, is that our body's a jerk and it wants us to like it tends to want us to be at a certain stress level. At least mine does. Like I started doing yoga every day, twice a day, and I only do it for like 15 minutes or whatever. And for like the first month, 2 months, it's great, such lower stress. And then now it's like I need to do it, because my body is like, okay, well, this is the stress level that you like to operate at. We got you down here, but we're going to bring you back up here because this is your normal.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I hate my body for that. Like that's just so annoying.
No, I get that. So I used to teach Zumba. So when I was working in the physical wellness field, all of the things that I once, and I always enjoyed what I did, don't get me wrong. But when you do it as your job and you're teaching Zumba or you're teaching cycling, like you listen to the same songs and do the same routines multiple times per day. So I remember when I began to be a participant again in my friends' classes, and everybody always wanted the front row. And I was always that person. I liked to be in the back, and they'd start pulling me up. So then it kind of became not a competition of who was in the front row, but who would get there first or who would get the front of the line. And I remember at one point I stopped myself and I said, we're all in the same room. We're all doing the same routines. I don't have to be in the front row. So I went back to, being in my back corner and everybody's like, well, come on up. I'm like, no, I'm good here, because it became a stressor, and it was like my
Yeah.
body and my brain would be like, okay, class is at 11 a.m. Get there at, 10 o'clock and do your weight training and then go to Zumba. And I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. Like, why would I overexert my brain, my body? So you're definitely right. Like it's almost like our body becomes so equipped and desires that stress that it's like, okay, how can I take that step back now? So awareness definitely is very, very important. That's why I love, Stress Awareness Month because it really kind of takes us to the place where, okay, there are items potentially in our lives that stress us out, and how can we set it up for the rest of the year and the years to come that I don't feel this way because it impacts us as we're, kind of talking about.
I feel like
And
stress can also come into play when you're planning a vacation. Such a happy moment for a lot of people, uh, and it seems like to be a stressful thing to like think about packing and then like think about waking up the next day and then going to the airport or just being on the plane. So I feel like it's such a difference. Like I don't know how to differentiate between having an anxiety or if you're stressed in that moment.
Yeah, there
I
can be
learned about
different.
this.
Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Please go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, and the clinician light bulb just kind of flicked off in my head when you said that. But yeah, I mean, there is technically a difference between like anxiety and stress, right? Like we see stress management as kind of like those small little symptoms that can lead to like anxiety disorders, things of that nature. But how we cope with stress management is, a big differentiator between, when somebody says to us, oh, well, you're stressed out, but hey, you might need additional help with, feeling anxious, right? Like if we see things for a prolonged period of time, we might result to, seeing a therapist or seeing our provider to be able to discuss, like, hey, I've been doing XYZ to alleviate my stress, but now I might just need a little extra push or a little extra support with that. Um, because I know, like, when I travel, I will unpack and repack my suitcase at least 10 times. And I don't know why. I just think I left something like under a bed, even though I never, like under beds in hotels, you can't even put anything. So that's just my stress when I think about it. But you're right. You're right. Stress can eat away at you.
Yeah. No, I was so excited when you talked about stress and anxiety. I was like, that was on one of these episodes. I don't remember which one, but we were talking about we talked about the difference between stress and anxiety, which I did not know. But in a shameless sponsor plug, I do want to say that that's why it's so important to have a therapist like people at Lemco Wellness, because what I've seen with myself, what I've seen with my family, with my friends and everything, is that you don't notice when you're overstressed until you're really starting to make errors. And usually the people around you aren't going to say, "Hey, you're overstressed," until they can see it really impacting your life. And what I've seen is once you get to that area, finding a therapist is just another stressor. It's just another point of anxiety. Like there are, I would say, at least three people in my life, myself to a lesser extent included, where I'm like, hey, you could use a therapist. Right now, I have a psychiatrist, but not a therapist. And like, I know I should, hey, it's time for me to get a new therapist. Um, but like, all right, there's other things to do. It's not the most important thing. I have this handled, all of this other stuff. And when you start to, like, when you're in that position, it's just a lot. And you don't want to, like, it can take months. For some people, it takes years for them to actually go through that step. And that entire period where you're stressed out, where you're anxious, where things just aren't working for you, has now become this period where you're operating as less than you normally could, where your actions, your whatever, your attitude is impacting others in a negative way, at least some of the time. And like it's very easy to find yourself in a hole of just, well, I'll get to it. Well, I'll get to it. The same way uh that people do with the gym, that people do with eating healthy, with any other, this is how we become healthy type thing, to have that, well, I'll get to it. And like for me, and I got to take my own advice on this, the best time is now. Well, the best time was yesterday or before this, but then it's now. And I think that that's something that we tend to overlook, and I think even clinicians, a lot of clinicians that I've talked to tend to overlook that, because they're like, oh well, I can only treat the most severe clients. And I'm like, okay, that's great and that's super admirable. But on the other side of that, if you look at mental health as health, prevention is goes a much longer way than emergency care, you know? And I think that for me, for our listeners, I think it's better to get in the mindset of this is about prevention more than it is, hey, I'm fixing a problem. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And actually, with it being Stress Awareness Month, so as a clinician, I look up things all the time for self-care, right? Like, of course, I've referenced the gym quite a bit, taking care of our bodies with, diets, things like that. But something I found out about recently, and I know I'm definitely very, very late to these trends, I guess is what they're called. I don't have one in the room with me when I'm on meetings or things, I always have something in my hand just to fidget with. Um, awesome. I thought I was the only one. But I recently saw two items. One is like they're called dumplings, and they sell them at different stores. but you open it up and it's like whatever the mystery one is like a glitter one, a tie-dye one, but people unbox them online, but they're little, I call them just a stress ball. Like when I was younger, it was always just a stress ball. And then they have other ones called, I think they're Neatos. And then they have little shapes of like jellyfish and all these different ones, but they're really cool. I will say I've used different ones with friends and seen them in the stores. Though they're always off the shelf, and I stopped at a few stores to try to buy one. Luckily, one of my really good friends called me at like an odd hour and was like, "Hey, I found one. I'm going to get it for you. Just send me the money." I did. And like I said, I have a few, but it almost seems like sometimes when we're trying to find the thing that unstresses us, right? Like one of these items, it actually stresses us out even more. And I learned that through watching these videos of, well, I didn't want the pink one. I wanted the glitter one. So people are running around, looking for these things. And I'm like, you know, I think it's cool to have the item that unstresses us, but it's just so much work sometimes to find that thing that helps you, that you want, that, gives you that release. So I thought I'd just put it out there. I don't know if either of you have heard about them, but I'm sure you can resonate that, hey, the thing that unstresses one person might really stress out another.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Ronnie.
No, I was gonna say that's very true. It's gotten to a point where if I do see a stress ball and if I do have a dog nearby, I just like to play with it. I think that's a stress reliever at that point. I don't know. This goes hand to hand, you know.
Yeah.
If you try it out, I know you have a dog as well. So if you do get a chance, try it out. See how that goes.
Definitely. My dog loves to bring me his toys, so sometimes I'll find myself just holding like one of his little squeakers, and then it kind of just drives me crazy. But like the little dumpling has the one I bought, but um the little dumpling is clay inside. So like when
Mm.
he sees me playing with it, he wants it, and I'm like, I can't give this to you because it's just gonna it'll be destroyed. It'll be everywhere. So, um, I think we all definitely have our items, but yes, animals are great. They're very therapeutic. I think I read somewhere before if you sit and pet your dog or cat for 10 to 15 minutes, it actually well, it does decrease your stress levels, but it, helps you for the remainder of your day, just to feel that emotional support. And I think that's another reason why, people do get emotional support animals because they can go to work with you, they can go on a plane. Planes can induce a lot of stress on the bus, anywhere really to be with you.
I do with the emotional support animal thing, I do want to play devil's advocate because like I agree. My dog is and cat are super helpful in decreasing my stress. But on the flip side, I've also seen a ton of people where I'm just like, this is not an appropriate place to bring your animal. And I don't care that it's an emotional support animal. Like, you need to have better mitigation techniques than this. Um, so and I do feel like there's probably a lot of people who are on that where like they've just ran into somebody with an emotional support animal in a very inappropriate place and the animal wasn't trained or something like that and it just made everybody else stressed out at the expense of a single person being less stressed. And I do so I did want to play devil's advocate and be like, as with most things, there's kind of a time and a place and a reason uh for those things. Again, not disparaging emotional support animals, 100% great idea, but also maybe don't bring them to a movie theater or something like that.
I agree. I
You
agree.
On
I
that note, I wanted to say, what are you guys' thoughts on yoga, like having like goat yogas and stuff like that? I feel like yoga is such a good practice when it comes to like de-stressing. And when you are like, at like a certain pose and you have like an animal near you, like what are you like what would you if you were in that position, like what would you like? What are your thoughts? Like how would you?
so I have to say I've never done the goat yoga thing. I've always wanted to.
Uh,
But the reason that I have my little Pomeranian Husky mix is I went to a puppy yoga event last year, and I was there, I was being very strong, and I said I'm not going to get a dog, you know, they're a lot of work and everything. Well, the instructor came up and said, "Oh, I haven't seen you with a puppy." And she put him in my lap and he looked up at me and it was over. I was like, this is my dog now. This is it. So I will say that at that event, I was so actually more stressed out because I'm like, I have to figure out how to get in touch with the breeder to adopt this guy. But I did enjoy the class. But I think during it, though, I was a little bit anxious because I would see how they would interact with the others. So for example, like the one dog was like pulling someone's hair and she was very calm, but I don't think it was very comfortable to get your hair pulled during the class and be chewed on and things. But I would say that I had a really overall good experience. I have a great companion now out of that experience and being able to just be yourself in an environment where like I'm a beginner with yoga. I'm not a yoga person by any means. I think if I'm in a room where it's very quiet, I kind of just start to laugh because I don't know what to do. And I'm horrible with the moves. So like they walk around, they tell you you don't have to be perfect here. Just enjoy yourself, laugh. If you're stressed out, play with the puppies. And I noticed that like when I couldn't do the move that the instructor was doing, I would just pick up one of the dogs and pet them. So it's just a really good community support. That's at least how I feel about it. But go ahead, Aaron. I know you were going to say something.
I have done the goat yoga. For first off, the goat yoga and any sort of like animal assisted or accompanied yoga is generally more expensive than regular yoga for obvious reasons. Um, but I will say I did find it very helpful for me personally because I tend to be very competitive, not so much with other people, but like with myself. Like when I'm doing yoga, I'll be like, okay, so last time I did a Warrior Three pose for like 5 seconds before I needed to adjust my balance. This time I'm gonna hit six. And like I'll get into that mindset of like, okay, I have to beat my last performance. I have to beat my last performance. And it kind of obviously defeats the purpose of yoga to some extent. Like I'm definitely getting the stretch and the strengthening and everything, but I'm not decreasing the stress. Um, when there's goats around or when there's other animals around, that falls apart because they don't care what you're doing or what you're trying to do. Like I was doing a standing pose when I did the goat yoga, and then like a goat came and just sat on the whole rest of my mat was now a goat. And so I'm like trying to figure out how to keep doing this event. And like eventually you just kind of laugh and you're like, okay, whatever, like I'll just figure it out and you kind of roll with it. And that's a very helpful and beneficial experience to just see something that doesn't go your way and have it not be a big deal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of breaks up the competition mindset. So I went to so I had a friend in Connecticut who owned like a small dance and like Pilates yoga studio. So she had a launch night of what was called, and I don't even know if it's around anymore, but Plyo. I don't know if either of you have heard of it, Plyo.
That sounds familiar, but
So, and I'd never taken Pilates or yoga at this point, but it's basically both. And so some moves would be more stretch based, and then some are body weight, strength based.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, to go to something like that, and I remember again, new to both Pilates, yoga, it was like everybody was in competition with each other. Like, well, look, I'm doing this move. I can hold this move longer than you. And I'm like looking like I just like fell on my mat. But going to something like a goat yoga or a puppy yoga event, like it just breaks up the monotony of like me against everyone else. Like it's actually like me just kind of seeing where I can go with this and then these adorable little guys around me that just make it happy. They act up, they pull something down, everybody laughs. Like it's not as competitive and serious based as it is, we make it out to be. And I try to carry those values, especially when I go to the gym, right? Like if I walk in and I have a plan and 8 out of the 10 machines are in use that I wanted, I go the other way. Okay, I was going to do this body part tomorrow. I'm just going to do that, because it decreases that stress and, we're able to gauge where we are and what we need in that moment.
Yeah. So two things I wanted to bring up. First, regarding yoga, I don't know if either of you guys have been to a yoga class where there's one person that's just way, way better than everybody else in the class. Um, that's such a mixed reaction for me when that happens, when there's just somebody who's head and shoulders above where I'm at right now. Because part of me is like, yeah, what the hell? But then part of me is like, hey, I can do this. Like that's something to aspire to. And I think that that's kind of how stress works for a lot of us is part of it is dragging us down. Part of it is this negative thing, but part of it motivates us to further goals. And it's really just being able to find that balance where we can do both, where we can focus where we can focus on the motivation and not so much on what is dragging us down. um, anyway, that's just my weird parallel. The thing that I really wanted to talk about and is not at all fun, it's something that I read in a research paper, but experiences matter a lot more than things in terms of overall happiness and contentment. Like a lot more. People who do things more often tend to be happier than people who have a lot of things by a huge margin when they like do, oh, how happy are you and all of that stuff. And so just as a quick aside for everybody, do things, activity, experiences, things like that, novel things tend to bring you more happiness and reduce stress more than individual items. And that's just true of pretty much everybody.
I agree. I think we might have read the same article or a research paper because I've read articles where they say it's like the studies, right? So 2 weeks after you purchase an item that you really wanted, the car, the yacht, whatever it is, your happiness goes down. You're just like, okay, it's another thing I have to take care of. It's just another item I'm cleaning around in my house versus an experience. Like I always see those posts on TikTok or Instagram where, hey, you're going to get the money back. Go on that vacation, go on that weekend trip. Because it is true, you'll carry those memories. And I'm sure I take tons of photos. So you'll even have tons of photos and videos to follow you for a lifetime. So definitely do things. Doing things is great.
On the other spectrum was of stress, it's like overthinking as well. Like Aaron mentioned, like while you're in the yoga studio, rather than just being in the moment, you're thinking about the person that's there doing some crazy activity, and now you're deep into thinking of like, oh, can I do that? Or so it's like overthinking for a lot of people is also a big stressor. And then even if they're not stressing, thing at the end of the day, they will be in that stage where they're, I hate to say it, they've put themselves in that stage by overthinking about literally anything small, anything big. You know,
Yeah.
It's me. That's me all over. Like I will think about the dumbest stuff and just examine it because I don't know why. My brain is like, hey, this is important. And I'll actively be telling myself, Aaron, this isn't important. Do something else. Go to sleep, whatever. But my brain will be like, oh no, let's figure out how you could barbecue in a place where there's zero heat. Like,
Yeah.
why is that important? But that's what my brain does to me sometimes. And I think all of us kind of have that to some level. Hopefully, for most of you, it's not as bad as it is for me because sometimes it's truly ridiculous and annoying. But we all have this tendency to just go off into this odd, purposeless area with our thoughts. And it can be, I don't want to say damaging. Sometimes it's fine. But sometimes like inappropriate, you know? Like this isn't where I want to be spending my mental energy right now.
Yeah, no, and I mean, and Aaron, just to kind of piggyback off of that, if this is helpful for you, this is something that I've just been doing for a long time, and even people watching, right? They might be thinking about different instances, like going to the yoga class or trying to sleep when these thoughts are just going. But I am one of those people where, I'm very focused all day in the evening with the work and the tasks that I do, but it's always when I'm trying to go to sleep. So my dog sleeps in the room with me, just a funny thing, and he gets the perfect 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night. He's ready, he's energized for the day. And sometimes when I'm trying to prepare for sleep or it's time when I should be sleeping, the light bulb goes up. My car isn't cleaned. I need to clean my car. And I'm like, okay, 3 or 4 in the morning, what can I really control other than going out and looking like a crazy person, cleaning their car in pajamas? Or why don't I just wait on that? Like, knowing that at this time and in this place, in this setting, I can't control that situation, even though, yeah, I can go clean my car, it can wait, right? Like setting a timetable for everything. So it's funny because I'll look at my dog and he's sound asleep. He sleeps on his back with his paws like this. It's very cute. But I'm like, I need to get in that realm right now and turn off these thoughts and relax, right? So if that helps anyone, 3, 4 in the morning, if it's something you can't control right there in the moment, let it go. You can manage it after you get some rest, and rest is definitely one of those things. If you don't have enough of it, um, our brains and bodies don't operate in the best capacity that it can.
I go the other way. I embrace the pajamas. If it's something that I can handle, even if it's something looking ridiculous, no, I'm going and doing it because like, I have zero control over where my brain goes at night. It goes into the most ridiculous random places. Like during the day, I'm pretty good, but at night, like once I get into the insomnia zone, total randomness. But if it's something like if it's stress for something that I can control, even if it is like going outside in my pajamas to, you know, garden or something like that, it's never been that. But I don't care. I'm doing it because as soon as I'm done, my brain doesn't have that to jump to, and I might be able to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe not the best advice for everybody, but like I very much struggle with insomnia, and I have my whole life. So at this point, if I get if I get something that pops into my head that's messing with my sleep, I just okay, I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah.
Any advice for those just find work as their main entertainment of life, and where they're just deep into their work, and then they feel like their work is everything, but at the same time they don't realize how much stress that the work is bringing on. It can be like any type of engineer, mechanic, M&A insurance, where we've seen people, logging on at like 11 to close a deal, like and will work till like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., um, and then still wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. to get back on the same deal. So I feel like, what would you have to say for those people, and then how can they control that?
Yeah. So, and just so I can understand the best answer it, you're saying like if people make work like their everything, their therapy, their you know, hobby, kind of a intertwine between, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that, if somebody makes work their life, right? Like I work a lot of hours a week, for example. Work is my life. I enjoy what I do and never work a day in my life, right? So for someone like me, yes, any job, situation can be stressful, but it's how we manage it, right? So are there activities for this hypothetical example that this person does outside of it? Because I ask as I did make a post recently on LinkedIn about like social isolation, right? If we find ourselves where maybe the only people we're being around is the people with work, very healthy, if we have healthy relationships with those that we work with, but it can also be helpful to have people outside of work, people that you can go and have fun with at the gym or go to a park, or, breaking up the monotony of just work, 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 right? Because I think we can get stuck in the mentality of just studying, just working, even in things that we enjoy. Like, we can just get stuck in going to the gym, and anything can become and induce stress. So having micro breaks, maybe on your lunch break, going for that walk on a nice day, maybe joining a group after work and going out, with others and connecting with them. um, that can certainly help, just not having that work mentality, if that makes sense and is helpful.
That does. Yeah.
Um, Years ago, I uh, a therapist that I am no longer with talked to me and said something. I'm paraphrasing, but that we're basically all kind of like silly putty, and we can shape our lives in any direction that we want to shape it, which is really awesome. But we only have so much. And so if we're shaping ourselves entirely toward one thing, we'll be great at that one thing, and that one thing is going to get better for us. But we become less and less stable for everything else. And so it's important to kind of, one, I think, measure what you care about the most, and also be able to adapt and adjust based off of what your needs are in any given time. Like we were talking about vacation before. Like I am a very active work on things person. Like even if I'm not actively working on things, I'm usually studying something that relates to things that I work on. But when I'm on vacation, like I'll log on to answer emails, I'll respond to texts. That's it. Beyond that, I'm enjoying myself. And in my opinion and in my experience, that's a huge part of it, is just finding that ability to balance and adapt and be the person that can get the most out of out of the situation that you're currently in, if that makes any sense.
And that's a privilege. Like you're privileged to do that.
That's
Having
true.
the vacation and not worry about anything else. Where people do take vacation and do have to come back to just stress load of work that that has not been done, or no one to help out.
So this is going to sound terrible because, and this is just me, I don't know if it's actually good advice. Allie, please jump in if it's terrible advice. But because I'm screaming in my head, that's what serial killers do. Compartmentalize, like learning to compartmentalize. Like that's part of the way that I function with everything, is like, okay, if I'm in this mode, like if I'm in this room, I'm doing the podcast stuff, and that's what I'm focused on. If I'm in this room, I'm only doing podcaster meetings. And that's how my brain works when I'm in this room. When I'm on vacation, I'm in vacation mode. And that's how my brain works when I'm on vacation. I'm not thinking about like the whatever else is going on, except for the, 20, 30 minutes I open my computer or phone a day to check my texts and emails. That's it. Um, for me, that works. We'll say again, compartmentalizing is what serial killers do. So I don't know if it's great advice, but it does work for me to kind of have that shut off of like, hey, I'm this person. I'm in this location.
No, it works. I mean, I have a designated little like office area. So we all work pretty much remote, right? I mean, I work remote, and it's funny because I always tell people, like, they say, "Do you have a designated office space?" Well, yeah, my whole place is my office. I have different rooms for different things. Like this one is the podcast and event room. The other area in the living room has a desk in the corner. So when I'm at my little corner desk, that's my, computer space. So I am one of those people that if I'm not in that designated space, I can manage, but I feel more productive when I'm in those exact spaces, right? Because I have other friends that also work in the field. They're like, well, I work from my couch. I'm like, but that's your place of relaxation. That's where you unwind, you watch movies, maybe you nap. Like me, I have to be in that office setting, but not in the office setting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think we're almost out of time, but I think that is part of the work from home debate is how difficult it can be to find your productive area at home. Um, I don't think I don't think we don't have time to get into that right now, but I did want to thank both of you for joining me and this podcast today. Uh, this is the first one of, we're going to be doing this every week moving forward. Uh, Thank you so much to those who have joined us. And don't forget to check out Lamco Wellness, lamcowellness.com. They can really help with whatever is going on with you personally. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.